economic power of our community is higher than it's ever been. But there's still way too big of a gap in wages and generational wealth between Black and white America. The richest 400 American billionaires have more total wealth than all 10 million Black households. Such disparity has been generations in the making, as Blacks were held back from owning land and building multi-generational equity, while white families built wealth that grew and grew.
I think the racial wealth gap speaks to the fact that we still have a long way to go to achieve ideals of equality in this country.
Today, the typical white family has on average 6 to 8 times the wealth of the typical Black family. And white Americans hold 84% of US wealth, but make up only 60% of the population, compared to Blacks who hold only 4% of the wealth and make up 13% of the population.
It's like if you're Black in this country, you have to be like, well, what the hell, what's up with us?
Closing the wealth gap is vital and must address issues like lower wages, higher unemployment, and housing discrimination among Black populations. I'm Revolt financial correspondent Akilah Friend, and I'm here with real estate investor and bank owner Benaisha Poole-Watson to find out how each and every one of us can become financially literate so that we can close that wealth gap together. Benaisha, I am so excited for this conversation, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today. You're a real estate investor, you're a developer, you own your own realty. Can you just talk a little bit about your keys to success and your, just entry into the game in general?
First and foremost, I'm really excited to be here because this is an important conversation that we have to have in our community. It starts now. So I own a federally chartered, direct lending, non-depository bank. So what does that mean? That means that I don't accept deposits. I'm here to give the funding, right? And so I fund nationwide, and I'm just here to empower our community and inspire our people to let them know that there is a safe place that you can do business, where we can loan you money in an equal and equitable manner and get you to your next step into generational wealth.
What are some of the historical reasons that you think we are behind when it comes to generational wealth?
We started with wealth because a lot of our grandparents and great-grandparents actually owned land.
True.
I know there's a story in a town called Wilmington, North Carolina. And in Wilmington, they had a family who owned like almost half of the beach area. And they lost it just because they didn't structure their business right. People came in and took opportunity against them. And essentially, that land was turned over to someone who didn't look like us. And that's Black communities all across the United States. Systematically, we have experienced so many historic evolutions of ownership, losing it, selling grandma's house.
Right.
So essentially, we have to understand real estate, what it truly can do, and how to better ourselves through the building of equity. And then I think once we understand that, then we can move forward and be better on how we manage our financials, including property.
Historically, Black people worked tirelessly to become owners of land, homes, and businesses in upwardly mobile neighborhoods like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Florida, and many more. But a series of racially motivated massacres, like those in 1921 in Tulsa and 1923 in Rosewood, stole our land, homes, and businesses away from us. What do you think are some of the key issues regarding financial literacy, or the lack thereof, in a lot of Black families?
I think there's a fear factor. Who can you really trust?
Yeah.
In banking, we don't have relationships with bankers and banking systems as an African-American community. And so we have to start developing those, and that's why I ended up being here, because if I can provide a portal directly to where you need to go without having to jump through hoops, someone who really cares about the community and wants to give that information from their heart, and it starts from there. And I think we'll start breaking down those trust barriers.
Yeah. How did, that mindset happen? I know, again, let's take it back to you from childhood. You have a Guatemalan mother, a Black father. I'm first-generation American, so I feel you.
Okay.
Yes.
Come on, girl.
Yes. We got it. But how
Yes.
did that really, affect you growing up, especially affect you when it comes to the world of just finances?
It's absolutely affected me. My mother came to this country with one bag, $20, absolutely nothing, no guidance. She just knew that she wanted a better life for herself. And here comes me. And I saw my mother work so hard. She was a nurse. We grew up in South Central LA. So I was a latchkey. My mom was off to work early in the morning, come home at dark. I had to feed myself, figure it out. Can't go outside, can't open the door. Don't do this, don't do that. It was like I lived like an adult almost because I had to be responsible for myself and my little sister. Essentially just growing up and always wanting to do more. I was a reader, I was very academic, I was very studious, but I liked to play.
Right.
So I did everything that everybody did, I just didn't get caught. You know what I mean? I'm no different than anybody else, you know, growing up in an urban community, except I just always had a desire to want more. And I believe it's because I saw my mother work so hard to achieve the things that she wanted to achieve. I had a dad, my dad was in the house, they got a divorce, and you know, you go through that, but at the end of the day, you have to want more for yourself. I just always had a desire to want to have my own. And what triggered that is when I was about 18, 19, you want to go rent your own place to live, you want to try to be independent. And I'm like, well, shoot, I don't own any of this. Like, this is ridiculous. If I'm going to pay to rent, what does it cost to own? And that's when I flipped the trigger and bought my first house.
So you bought your first house, you know, obviously before
19.
At 19.
Yes.
How did that even happen?
When I was 15 years old, I got discovered by the Gap, walking through the mall, and instantly signed on the dotted line with the Model Scout. It paid me a grip of money.
Okay.
And so I was able to save.
Nice.
And that's how I bought my first house.
You did the Air Force for 9 years, and you're a veteran.
Yeah.
You know, what did the military teach you, or the Air Force teach you that, let's say, you didn't learn in school, or how did you apply those skills in the real world?
So I thought I was, you know, whatever, so the Air Force can't break me, but really what it did was it taught me discipline. And it taught me to follow through. It taught me that if you want to get here, you have to go through the journey.
True.
You're not gonna have it easy. I move in a space where service before self. I can't be here in this position helping other people if I'm thinking about myself.
You've taken that and you've just transitioned in such a beautiful way. You're a real estate investor, but you also own a bank. Just explain that process to owning a bank and kind of the effects of that in the community that you've seen.
I was working corporate America, and I was being the best Black I can be.
Okay.
I was showing up early, I was staying late. I was training everybody to get to the next level.
Yeah.
I was building this company up, and I hit a glass ceiling. And that glass ceiling, I hit it hard because I was like, man, God, what is happening here? Am I not worthy of this? And God spoke to me, he said, get a real estate license. I opened my laptop, I typed in real estate, school popped up, I bought the packet. It was $498.
Wow.
The books came in 24 hours. I studied the packet for 4 months. I took the test. I got my real estate license. And so my first year as a real estate agent licensed, I sold over 200 houses.
Wow.
That is just extraordinary, abnormal. The average realtor sells 8.
Wow.
Once I did that, I sold 350 my second year. Once I did that, people started gravitating towards me to say, how are you doing this? And so I created the Bailey Watson Real Estate Group. And that is my real estate brokerage company. I have a girlfriend who she was also a realtor, and I couldn't do it by myself because I was still working my job and balancing being a mom and everything. And so I said, I need some support.
Totally.
So we named it Bailey, her last name, and Watson, my last name. And we've been up and running ever since. So we started with 10 agents, and now we have over 250 realtors that work for the company.
Right.
And we started having conferences.
So what we lack in our community is access to capital.
And after I spoke, a guy pulled me off the stage and said, would you like an opportunity to own a bank? And I said, I don't want to own a bank. I sell real estate. He's like, you can own the bank, but you hire people to do the work.
Right.
And I was like, well, shoot, I'm a boss.
That sounds like
I can do this.
Right.
And the rest was history. And that's how I ended up starting a bank.
Just to highlight how incredible Benaisha's accomplishment is, according to the FDIC, as of 2018, only 23 out of 5,400 financial institutions in the United States were owned and operated by Black people, which may be one of the reasons Black adults have the highest underbanked rate of any racial group at 27%.
But then I layered it and put levels in there that's different from how banks truly operate.
What are some of those levels that are different, and what would appeal to, let's say, the everyday person who wants to potentially get a home? Why would they say, okay, prime one, that's where I need to go?
Yep. I do commercial and I do residential in one place. Typically, you have to go to 2 different places.
Yep.
They don't play in the same. I do offer products and services that are extraordinary. I can close in 3 days.
Wow.
So as an African-American person starting a business, I'm like, okay, I know the community's pretty harsh, right? They will Black Twitter you to death, and then you're on the list. So I'm like, what can I do to make sure that I'm elevating above? So it's like, no, I'm like, remember in Living Color, like Wanda, like I got this. What you need? I got this. What you need? I got this.
That's it.
You need gas? I got this.
That's it.
So,
and it's great to be that way because it definitely translates in terms of the service that you do too.
Yes.
Like, talk a little bit more about the initiative that you're doing with kids and financial literacy. I think it translates equally to that.
Yes, I chose to go back to high schools because I felt like the high school age is when you're in your transition.
Right.
You are getting ready to go into the world as a senior. You don't know what you're gonna do.
If we don't keep our money circulating in the Black community, we lose it. Spend it where we are. So that way we can have more successful people like yourself coming out of school.
So I created a scholarship for high school students where I send 2 high school students to real estate school every single year at no cost to them.
Wow.
They don't pay $1. And if they want to be mentored by a top professional in the real estate space that has done extraordinary things outside of the box, then I will offer it to them at no cost.
Right.
And so that allows them to have a resource and the tools to either you can sell real estate and make some extra money, or you can just be a filter for your family with information, or you can buy a house yourself. It's really, for me, about breaking the generational curse of renting.
So what are 2 or 3 things that you can say that folks can truly do next after listening to this?
The important pieces are your credit.
Yes.
Value your FICO score. Because when you come to a bank, and my favorite word is bankable, you have to be in position for them to even want to have a conversation with you. And if you have a below standard credit score, which is under 580, then you're not gonna sit at this table. Another thing is, again, like going back to grandma's house. If you have an opportunity to own or have access to grandma's house, don't sell it.
If your parents own a home, help them keep the home, okay? Contribute, do anything that will guarantee your legacy.
Grandma's house has been there way before you were, okay? So that means that grandma probably has some equity in that property.
True.
And equity is one of the fastest ways to build generational wealth in this world. And then now you can purchase that property, you can hold it, you can rent it out and build your portfolio, and now you can take your family and your legacy to the up level.
To new heights. I'd like to thank the incredible Benaisha Poole-Watson for joining us on Stand Up For, presented by State Farm. We've learned so much today, and the most important thing, you can take action right now to improve your financial knowledge. You've shared it. You've shared it all. One amazing opportunity is the Dollars and Cents Youth Investment Program, a collaboration between the mentoring organization, the 100 Black Men of America, and State Farm. Dollars and Cents helps to eradicate financial illiteracy among high school students of color. Visit 100blackmen.org to learn more. A big thanks to State Farm for sponsoring today's episode of Stand Up For. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.